We actually started presenting this Don't Meth With Us program way back in 2011, 2012. And we only got to 6 schools that year. That was when it started, and the next year we only got to 4 schools. The next year we only got to 7. And then in 2014 and 2015, we finally got our act together a little better. We visited 19 schools. We made 24 presentations. And so far, if I total everything up, we've made about 93 presentations of our program in the schools. And if you sort of figure that roughly you've got somewhere between 20 and 25 students on average in a classroom, we've spoken to a little over 2,300 students in those years with our program. It's really difficult to measure the level of success because we have no idea what we might have prevented. All we can do is hope that we've prevented as many students as possible of ever getting involved with methamphetamines, but there's really no way of knowing, I don't think. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, this is the t-shirt that we give to the kids when we go to the classroom. It has "We Are the Future, Don't Meth With Us" on the front, and then some of our sponsors that help pay for the program on the back. And I just roughed out a cost for each student at each presentation. Roughly it costs about $7.60 for all the stuff that we give them. What we give them is a package, and I'll pass these around so you can take a little closer, which has a little brochure in it, a little write-up about methamphetamines for them to take home to their parents, a pencil with the kids' helpline number on it, a bracelet that they can wear that says "Don't Meth With Us," and a couple of business cards that has the helpline number on it as well. So I'll just pass those around. You can open them up if you wish to take a closer look.
What is the age that you target?
Grade 5.
Grade 5s.
Okay.
So they're 10 to 11 years old, somewhere in there. The odd time you might get a grade 6 or grade 5 who's repeating, but that's not a real problem. So that's a little bit about what our program starts out with. I think the one thing we try to stress with the kids right off the top is that they're in charge of their life. We start off by asking them what do they want to be, what are their dreams, what would they like to become, and the message is to them really is, if you want to get to that dream, if you want to fulfill that dream, you need to make really good decisions with your life. And the worst decision you can ever make is to get involved with a product like methamphetamines, because it'll take you a long ways away down from your dream job or dream occupation in your life. So I'm going to kind of stop talking a little bit and let Charles take over. If you want to talk a little bit about a little more about what we present to the kids.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. I joined Rotary because of this program, because I had taught a couple of boys in Sunday school for years, and both of them became involved in meth, and both of them ruined their lives. And I was so angry about it, and of course you need some outlet for that would be constructive. And when I heard about this program that Dave and his fellow Rotarians were offering, I became very interested. I wanted to be part of it, and I am so glad that I am. When we go to, Dave said that we present to grade 5s, and that we've inherited the presentation format and the guidance of the clubs in the United States that founded this program. And their perception was, and they have a lot of experience, that 5th grade is the right age group for this presentation. And certainly it's a very interesting age group. I think the average age of the kids is 11. So these are children who are just on the edge of what you might call junior youth. They're no longer children in the baby sense, and they're beginning to become aware of the world around them and contemplating their part in it and so on. And so, but also at the same time, they are, like the girls don't care how they look. The boys are interested in hockey and all, video games, that sorts of things. So they're not young adolescents. They're really at a very, we think, teachable age. And they're a delight to be with because, of course, we primarily present in Perth County and mainly in country schools. So the kids we're dealing with are country kids, and we always get a very polite reception, and they're bursting with questions, but we actually don't take questions because we don't consider ourselves experts on the subject. And what we are trying to do is just what Dave described, is to present facts about meth and to say that it is something that they need to be aware of and learn that if you apply the four principles of Rotary, when somebody comes up to you and says, why don't you try some meth that won't do any harm, you apply those principles, and we talk about that, you see that this isn't a good thing to do. And so we encourage the kids to think for themselves. So the program takes about 35 minutes to deliver. We usually have 3 presenters, so it's in 3 parts. The first part is an introduction, just brief introduction to what a service club is and things that Rotary does locally and internationally to give the kids a sense of who they're talking to, and we introduce each other at the beginning. And then we talk about what Dave was referring to earlier, but the idea of having goals and what things will help you achieve those goals and what things might set you back. And it's all about learning to make good decisions. And then we talk about, in that the first presenter kind of sets the scene for the next 2 by saying that experimenting with meth is not something that a person can do with any degree of safety because it's so addictive that about 85% of the people who start with meth can't get off it.
So more addictive than other drugs?
Hmm?
More addictive than other drugs?
Yes.
That's our understanding.
Okay.
One of the most addictive.
Is that
I'm
right?
not sure that it's any more addictive than the ones that are out there right now that we
Wow.
hear about every night on the news.
Right, okay.
Well, a friend of mine who's a physician was explaining to me what meth does that is part of its addictiveness. He said that the brain has, it makes certain chemicals which are released in a very measured way, which make you feel good. And I think they're called endorphins. And he said that, of course, those are released at appropriate moments by the brain under normal circumstances, but he said meth flushes them all at once. So your brain has a fire sale on these pleasure chemicals. Of course, then they're gone. And as Dave was saying yesterday at one of the schools, that people who have this first high, they chase it for the rest of their life and they can never have it again. And so anyway, I don't want to go on too long about this, but the first presentation sets the scene about making good decisions, and we teach kids that having anything to do with meth is really like being hit by a train. And it's not something that has to happen. It's something that you kind of leave yourself open to if you're on the tracks. And we talk about things that can impair a person's judgment, such as marijuana and alcohol, that may make them less resistant when somebody says, would you like to try some meth? And that is like getting nearer and nearer the train tracks, and finally the worst happens. So then after that, and that's the part that Dave normally does, would you like to talk about that? relieve the monotony in my voice.
So we talked a little bit about what meth does. I didn't bring that picture with me. I don't think it might be down in my bag. But meth does about 5 things. First of all is the addictiveness of it. Secondly, they found that basically meth users, they've examined the brains from some of these meth users and found dark spots, which means that that part of the brain has been killed, if you like, put it simply, and so that part of the brain doesn't function. So what you're really reducing is your ability, the ability of your brain to think properly, and those are the dark spots. So that's one of the things. The other thing is the teeth problem, because the chemicals that are in methamphetamines kill off the salivary glands that you have in your mouth. Now the salivary glands, and kids all like this, I say they produce the spit. And that spit washes your teeth all day long. And when that doesn't happen, your teeth don't get washed. It's like never brushing your teeth in the morning. And so your teeth eventually decay and start to fall out and turn brown and so on. Dentists will tell you, they can tell as soon as a person comes in and sits in the dentist chair and they open their mouth, the dentist can pick off whether or not they've been involved with meth or not when their teeth
They
are
just
away.
smile to us. I'm a dentist.
Yes.
Your smile, I could tell that you're using meth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty... The other thing it will do is it causes you to a certain extent to sort of forget about all good hygiene habits, so you don't wash, you don't bathe right, just don't stay clean. And then this idea of coming down off that high gives you a feeling that there are bugs underneath your skin. And so the idea is you scratch and scratch and scratch, and that will create a really sore spot, which opens up, you get infections in it, and so on. So it's just one problem manifests another one. Let me see, what else am I missing here? The brain, the dark spots in the brain, the
Teeth,
the teeth,
scabs
the
and
scabs
sores,
and
and
the
then
skin.
the loss of control.
Loss of control. Oh yes, this is the other thing. I asked the kids, how many of you like to play video games? Oh yeah, sure. You get your hand. They all get their hands up, and I said, "What do you got in your hands?" Well, the controller. I said, "Okay." So you are in control of the game that's up on the screen that you're playing, right? If you get involved with methamphetamines, who's in control? And they kind of looked at me. I said, who's in control then if you're taking methamphetamines? Oh, well, the drug is. Yeah. So you lose control, and that leads you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. I said, how many of you would go and steal money out of your grandmother's purse? Of course, there's always a few smart alecks that say yes, but for the most part, the kids realize, well, you don't do that. That isn't a normal thing you would do. And so you can play on that theme a little bit and say, okay, that drug is going to make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. It takes you out of your normal type of behavior. And I guess the thing that we enjoy the most, Bert Vorsenbosch has we call it a tickle trunk, and nobody knows what a tickle trunk anymore. The kids don't seem to know, but he's got a big plastic case, and in there he's got a bunch of chemicals, some of which are used to make meth. There's paint, acetone, Drano, camp lighter fluid, 4 or 5 of those things, and he brings them all out on the table, and we dress them all up. We put a mask on them, and he tells them, okay, now if you were going into a drug house, you'd have a full white suit on. He said, this is the best we can do. We give you a mask, a set of glasses, and a cap, maybe. Anyways, the kids get the idea that, okay, now they're a drug maker. And so he pulls all these chemicals out, sits them on the table in front of them, shows them they have to wear rubber gloves to handle them and so on. And then he has the kid come and put them all back in the barrel. He said, "You're a drug maker now, so you have to put them all back in the barrel." And then he asks the kids, "Okay, so you're sitting around watching TV with your dad, eh? Watching the hockey game at night?" And so Dad says, "Well, slip into the kitchen there and pour me a glass full of paint thinner, acetone." "Would you drink it?" "Oh, no." "Pour me, or your mother's baking a cake and she runs out of milk. Would she pick up the Drano?" Say, "Well, we'll use some Drano instead of the milk to make a cake," which is really silly, but the kids get the idea. These are poisons. And when someone asks you to take or to use meth, they're basically asking you to put a poison into your body. And so that's the main message that we try to get out of them. And at the end of all of that, Bert talks a little bit about what they might want to be and growing up, being responsible, being a leader in their life. And so the kids all have one of these t-shirts on, and we have them stand up and we say, "Okay, so what's it say across the front? Don't mess with us, we are the future." So we ask them to stand and say that 3 times, but it's got to be loud. And the first time it's loud, the second time it's got to be louder, and the third time it's got to just raise the roof in the classroom, and we go get the teacher to go and open the door so that what they're saying can be heard all across the school. The kids really get a kick and they really take off on that, don't they, Charles?
Oh, yes.
So that's the program that we offer to the kids, and